Today, we're looking at Krishna's Sindhoor. Hi, I'm Adam, and I'm an ink guy. I get inks, test them, and share the results with you. Now, Krishna's Sindhoor is a red-orange kind of ink. To make sure I have a range of experience with this ink, I do the writing samples, I put the ink into a different pen for a day, I then put it into a Noodler's Ahab with a modified flex nib to take my notes for this video. Now before we go to the writing samples, let's look at the sciencey bits. Up first is the chromatography, and I agree with Vita that I've learned a lot by doing multiple chromatographies. The one on the left is done the way it's supposed to be done. I put a line of ink down and immediately put it into water for 10 to 15 seconds. And what we see is this pink on the bottom that pushes its way up, and then it's a very red with some kind of orange tones coming in at the very top of this chromatography. The one on the right I let dry for 10 minutes before I dunk it into water. And the only real difference I'm noticing is the line of pink across the bottom looks a little more dark and a little more there. Resistance tests are done to see how this ink can be expected to perform on the page, and more importantly, how hard it might be to clean from your pens. Now, I let the smear dry for 3 days before testing it. Looking at the highlighter, I would not use this at all in a note-taking situation. That is scary, the amount of blur that happened, and that capital H, it killed it. I wouldn't use it as a note taker. Now, water is reactivating and lifting most all of this ink out of the way. We do see in only 30 seconds that a lot of it's getting out of the way, and I do believe that that is all that it's going to take to get this out of your pen because of how the top of that dot is, how light it's becoming. I think that if your pen was allowed to soak for 10 minutes, all the ink would be gone. Strangely, pen flush did not do as much as water did, which is one of the reasons I'm actually still falling back on the idea that water is all that you would need. But pen flush did nothing special here. 1/3 bleach solution completely removed it from the paper, but I don't believe that you're going to need this to get this out of your pen. For the inks I've tested, I have found an average viscosity of 2.5, with the realm of normal being from 2.1 to 2.9. Krishna's Sindhoor has a viscosity of 3.33, making this a pretty dry ink. To find my average dry times, I use my writing samples done with the extra fine and medium nib on Clairefontaine, Tomoe River, and Rhodia paper. For the inks I've tested, I have found an average dry time of 17 seconds, with the realm of normal being from 13 to 21 seconds. Krishna's Sindhoor has an average dry time of 8 seconds, making this a ridiculously fast drying ink. Now, let's look at the writing samples. I picked this ink up in bottle form when I ordered a whole bunch of their inks, and red is not a color that I run and have a huge need for, even though I'm a teacher, because I do normally have the red that I use when it comes to grading. But this is not a bad red. To keep my writing samples consistent, I use a Jinhao 159 with a Goulet 1.1 stub, a Jinhao X 450 with a Goulet medium, and a Jinhao X 750 with a Goulet extra fine. Let's take a look at the Clairefontaine. We get no bleeding and no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, and no shading whatsoever. The extra fine is the exact same tone as the 1.1. It has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, or shade. 5 seconds to dry. The medium is the exact same tone as the extra fine and the 1.1. I do like when inks are incredibly predictable and boring like this, because if it's a nice color and it's boring, as in predictable, it's fantastic. The medium has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade. The scrubby for both show us no color variation. We didn't expect it and we didn't get it in a smear test. You could recover this if you smeared while you were writing. It's there. I don't care for this, how it looks here. And it's not that the tones are that different. It's how this ink looks on a cream background. Doesn't look as good. No bleeding. Yes, we get ghosting because it is Tomoe River. The 1.1 has no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen, no shade, nothing of interest.
Doesn't look as good on this cream paper. The extra fine is the same tone as the 1.1. It has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, and no shade. 8 seconds to dry. Now the medium is exactly like the extra fine in tone and the 1.1 in tone. It has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade. 12 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show us no color variation. We didn't expect it and we didn't get it. In the smear test, you don't get to recover it because this is Tomoe River. And if you make a mistake, you're gonna pay. Yeah, no, you just can't recover it. Rhodia. Now, this is not a bleed spot. That is where I put it down, and it just smeared from a page underneath. Other than that, we have no bleeding and no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade. The extra fine is the same tone as the 1.1, with no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade, 6 seconds to dry. The medium is the same tone as the extra fine and the 1.1. See what I mean about being predictable and boring? It is a nice red here. And it is great that it's the same no matter what nib it comes out of. The medium has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade, 9 seconds to dry. This is a very fast drying ink. The scrubby for both show us no color variation. We didn't expect it and we didn't get it. In the smear test, yes, you could recover this if you smeared while you were writing. The yellow Rhodia. Let's see how it does with a different background. No bleeding, no ghosting. It's still Rhodia paper. We don't expect that to change a whole lot. Now, the interesting thing here is it does change its tones. Look at what goes on. Now, maybe some of what I'm seeing in tone change is what is the result of what your eye sees on a red background paper. But the 1.1 and the extra fine look slightly lighter than they do on the white. The medium looks slightly darker, so that's interesting. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, and no shade. It is certainly a tad lighter than the 1.1 was on the white paper. The same tone as that 1.1 is the extra fine. It has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, and no shade, 6 seconds to dry. The medium is a slightly darker tone. It has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, or shade, 9 seconds to dry. The scrubby of the extra fine and the medium show no color variation. We didn't expect it and we didn't get it. And the smear test, you'd probably be able to recover that if you smeared while you were writing. Now, this is the last paper that I had tested, so obviously I had some paper shortages going on at the time. But this is hazel paper, neat, almost like a velour feeling on the outside of the notebooks. These are the Noonday Pro... I'll get to that. The paper is a toothy paper, and it works really well with fountain pens. I really like this. Super nice. This is the Noonday Brocade Pocketbook from Hazel. And the fine people that carry the Krishna ink in India also carry this. That's why I wound up ordering like 3 of their notebooks. That is the last notebook. I am waiting till I get through all of these reviews that have these inks to start using it. And then I'm probably just going to order notebooks from them because they are fantastic. The hazel paper has no bleeding and no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade. The extra fine is the same tone as the 1.1. It has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade, 2 seconds to dry. The medium is a noticeably darker tone than the extra fine or 1.1. The medium has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade, 3 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show no color variation, and we got none. And the smear test, funny, because the extra fine I don't think you could recover, but the medium I do. You know, that's that. That is all that I have for the writing sample.
Instead of finding inks that look like Krishna's Cinder, I would prefer to find an ink that complements its color on the page. And I wanted a nice blue. I chose Birmingham Pen Company's Smithfield Street Bridge Truss Blue because it's the longest name in the world. No, it's a very nice dusty blue that goes with this red. Before I give my opinion on this ink, I would ask, if you've enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. And if it's your first time here, I would invite you to subscribe. So what do I think of Krishna's Cinder? I think this is a great basic red and a very boring, and boring again being a good thing. Boring means it is predictable in its performance and its color. This has come out as the same tone of red, regardless of the pen that I've used it in. It's got good contrast on the page. This is a fantastic ink for people that like red inks. Thanks for watching.